Hello, hi, it's Lindsay Taylor from Park Lane Events. Thank you for attending. Thank you for joining this morning on January's webinar. I'm a month ahead of myself already. I'll just introduce myself as more people are joining. A lot of people know me already, of course, hence why you've joined. I'm Lindsay Taylor from Park Lane Events, and this is January's webinar on conference and events. What's happening next? This is being recorded. It'll go out on YouTube. So hi to people on YouTube that are watching the playback. I will send this replay back to you as well, and feel free to take pictures as we go along, share it on social media. That's been really supportive, and it does help other people catch up with what's going on as well. And as most people know, this is number 4 of 6 webinars that I'm doing. So I'm doing them from October to March. So the next one will be Thursday, the 4th of February. And I'll recap all of that at the end. Loads to go through today. So I'm going to move swiftly on. My 10-year-old is also downstairs homeschooling. She's got my iPad, so I am winging this without any notes today because she has my iPad, but we are not going to stop her homeschooling, so we will go. So let's share screen. Here we are. Luckily, I haven't come up with her homeschooling. She's on history at the moment. So that could have been interesting if we'd had her little history lesson. So can someone write in the chat, can you see the Park Lane Events logo there, and let me know that this is sharing. Okay, Trish, thank you. Claire, George, brilliant. Thank you so much. Okay, let's crack on. So loads to go through. You know that this is sort of what I've sent out. So just to recap, and for those on YouTube who might have just stumbled on this for some reason. So we're going to go through the government guidelines for conference and events, looking at New Year. I think the year's going to be in stages of Easter, summer, September, and looking into 2022. Lovely, what I'd like to call a fireside chat with Eventprofslive. That's actually the bulk of this today. I always try a minimum of like 15-20 minutes chat, and we definitely surpassed that, and we talk about so many different things for this year, so really excited about that. And thank you, Kate and Michelle, for doing that with me as well. They're online today as well. And then at the end, there's a little bit about trying to keep motivated and supporting each other in the industry, and then there's questions and answers at the end. Now, do please use the chat. The people are at the moment, which is great. If you have any questions, I also have a question that was submitted before this, so that'll be great if people can give me any answers on that. I'll give my answers as well. So please do feel free to keep this interactive as we go along, because so much is constantly changing. So crack on. We know government guidelines as of 6th of January. We'll next have an update mid-February with potential to continue until the end of March. It is illegal to leave home without a good reason, and we know we're supposed to be working from home where possible, and things like gyms and non-essential shops are now closed. So we know that on a personal basis. Anyway, for conference and events, obviously that's not great. There are still exceptions, which are like the critical care workers, essential education and training purposes, and business travellers. So for that, I've always given the example of people that work in the NHS, you know, the police, anything that's, especially I was talking to somebody the other day, and it was the day before Christmas, things like math resuscitation, you know, the Annie that you know, how can you do that with virtual stuff? So that's kind of an example of the things that are allowed to go ahead. With funerals, we know that there's a limit on how many can attend there, and the only weddings that can go ahead is if it's life-threatening. There's like end of life kind of influences with the bride and groom there. So unfortunately, none of that is very positive in the short term, but we are going to look at the long term here now that we are at the beginning of the year. It is a bit of a roller coaster, isn't it? Because we're one minute we're like, yay, there's a vaccine, and the next minute, but you know, shutting your houses, and yeah, there's more people getting vaccinated, we're going to be able to do stuff, and when the summer comes it'll be great. But we're like, but there's not a lot short term, so it's very up and down, and that obviously plays on our emotions as well. Now there's a surge of facts here about, this was actually an American survey. I attended a webinar, and it was just really interesting. If you want to pick any of that, we can probably all relate to a lot of these as well, about feeling isolated, you know, working from home. You know, some people prefer working from home, some people don't, so that's quite mixed there as well. I think the big question is, when are people going to be able to return back to either the work setting, and of course with us, conference and events, and basically what company policies are going to come in with working from home. So I know that there's a whole range of that, especially depending on where people are based. The cities are less inclined to go back before people working from you know, country offices in the country, of course. What was interesting was at the end of it, they needed to answer agree or disagree. I would attend more conferences overall if given the option to participate remotely. So 35% somewhat agree, 31% strongly agree. So that's obviously over 60%, 66%. That, you know, we do still need this, we do still want this. And I know some of us know this already, but for those that are listening and watching that have been made redundant, and it's all just feeling a bit lost and a little bit what is going on out there, people do still want this, whether it's virtually or not. So for our industry, that's obviously the positive, and it's taking those small positives as we can at the moment. So going on, and this is where I had a lovely question this morning from Jane Chivers at Tourism Southeast, and it goes along actually with this slide. So she said, when do you think is the right time to start actively promoting venues again, both inspirationally and booking offers or information? So firstly, the hardest thing here, and I think I could do a whole webinar on all of this, because as some of you know, I do consult with venues on their sales and marketing and reaching out to clients and things as well. So ideally, venues shouldn't stop, but obviously they've had to because of having to make people redundant and on furlough. The hardest thing is when communication stops, people then think that perhaps that venue's closed, it goes out of sight, out of mind for when that time comes. But when I'm saying that they shouldn't stop, I am obviously thinking it does need to be reduced. So things like social media could be done perhaps once a week rather than every day or numerous times a day. Just even if it's things like, oh, this time last year we were doing this, or this time next year we have to be doing this, or in this time in 3 months. And also just the whole update of what the rules are as they're changing on social media. I think social media is a good one because people are choosing whether to follow, and they can choose whether to read those updates or not. With emails and booking offers and information, I would say do that either once a month or once a quarter, depending on again your clients, and you need to have something to say, obviously. I think everyone's had enough of the we're open, we're closed, we've half opened the restaurant, hotel, we've half closed it. So it's about having the information and relevant offers in due course. She asked another question as well that said, do you see the meetings and events industry starting back with small meetings and events first? Will it be UK based first, or do you think when the time is right it will move rapidly back to where it was, or will it never be back? And this actually is what this slide's about. First of all, I think it will get back there eventually, but we are talking years in that respect. For UK companies, I do think they'll be UK based as much as they can first, but again, that depends on their reach. I do think it'll be small meetings and events to begin with. I think people will be treading softly and gently and getting that confidence. And I think it will be those brainstorming meetings. And in the chat, if anybody's got any sort of opinions on what their company's doing, I won't say you know, what company you're speaking from or anything, because this will go on YouTube. But any thoughts of what, you know, your companies are doing or thinking, or it might be you just don't even know yet, it's too early to say. And again, with promoting venues, I would say Easter at the latest, start promoting them at Easter time at the latest, if you have had to stop, because every venue is different. So I've sort of made a couple of notes, and, you know, venues really need to just keep that communication with their clients of perhaps surveys and polls, you know, webinars like this is what we're doing, because then people can choose whether they're in a position to respond or take part, and then you can gather as much of information with those that want to react and interact interact in that way. And again, still offering virtual presentations. I know some places are still doing that, and obviously catch-up calls. I think examples of venues that have been doing this quite well, I talk about Why Boston Lakes quite a lot. Their website has always been up to date, their social media has always been up to date. There in London, you've got the Royal Lancaster and St Ermin's Hotel, they've been good, really good there. And up in Edinburgh, you've got the Balmoral. So I've mentioned many of these on previous webinars as well, so if you haven't had a chance, take a look at those. But yes, virtual events are here to stay for now, and for the, you know, definitely for a while longer, for perhaps some things where people haven't had to meet up. I think for, you know, if there's 5 people meeting up, they might go, let's just do a Zoom instead of all trying to get together. And again, depending on people's diaries and commitments. Hybrid is an additional benefit, absolutely, for the next step to take things back. So I think this is where I mentioned sort of Royal Lancaster and St Ermin's and Balmoral, they're doing this really well. So taking a look at those for what they're doing. And the Belfry is another one in Birmingham. So that's a great location, obviously, for everybody to meet. So you could have 20 people when the restrictions are lifted. Obviously, we're talking after Easter, ideally, people can meet and have that hybrid event, so it has that reach, and especially then when you're talking global reaches as well. So there's lots of possibilities to start looking into, and I think it is really important for venues to be starting to talk about that now, as people are putting their plans in. So I've mentioned, I think it will be smaller meetings initially. I think it will be country manor properties initially as well, for the obvious reasons. You've got the fresh air, lots of space. You could do outside activities, and traveling. The biggest thing that's been putting people off, obviously, is the transport and getting to places. So it's being aware of how people can get to venues, and the less risk, especially in the instance from Easter, onwards. I think this summer as well, that festival style events, team building, again after Easter in the summertime, when people can get together. On again one of my previous webinars, I had a lovely chat with Martin Stevens from Off Limits, and they are able to do, as are other companies, are able to do social distancing team building. So even again, and some of those can be outside and inside. So there are things that can be done once people are allowed to do that. And again, if that's something people are interested in, I can do that a bit more on one of my later webinars as well. But I think realistically, we are talking Q4, September onwards. So again, if anyone wants to add to the chat in that of their thoughts of when they think some face-to-face conferences, as we have seen them before, might possibly go ahead, then do let me know. That's my personal opinion of my chats with all the corporates that I speak to. There are a couple before then in the summer, but from what we know now with everything that's going on, that seems to be when confidence is really going to start coming back, to start signing contracts again, really. Now, there's been 3 things that I've always said is going to rely, we're going to have to wait for, so before conference and events are definitely going to be able to go ahead. And obviously government guidelines are the first one, but then company policy, and I think that goes alongside vaccinations now as well. So even if the government guidelines change, then everybody's company policies might be different. So some might say, yes, we can do something in the summer. Some might say, yeah, we can do it in the September, and others might be, no, we're not doing anything until 2020. It's all got to be virtual or hybrid, at least until then. So it's very much about keeping up with that communication with everybody, so that people can start planning. And it's also up to the venues to educate the corporates on what can be done as well, and what's the safest way, and has everything been ticked off, because it is about risk assessments and all that as well. So I think with the vaccinations as well, that might give some peace of mind, but I think companies are also going to have a bit of a discussion, obviously. Are some companies going to say X amount of people have got to be vaccinated? Have they got to prove that they've been vaccinated? So I think that's a whole nother discussion that is going to take place in the short term of planning, or are they just going to go, we're going to wait until a later date? So that's the complications, unfortunately, isn't it? And again, the third thing that I've always said is emotional buy-in. And, you know, just because everybody said it's okay, you can go and do it. It's individual confidence, same as the people that have been working from home for perhaps a year, it'll be, obviously, by this point, actually going out and going to these places again. Some people are really excited, some people are like, you know, I'm not as bothered. So it's that, how many people are actually going to attend? We all know a lot of people sign up and don't, especially if it's a free event, perhaps don't actually turn up. And there will be an element, I think, now of people going, do I need to go to that? So that will depend on what the event is, of course. You know, we could be talking from exhibitions to a company training course. So there's a lot to get through, isn't there, I think. So it's those continual conversations that are going on before contracts are actually signed, but they will be eventually, just keeping with it, I think, really. So that's about sort of New Year and planning, which kind of leads us then into the discussion that I had with Eventprofslive, and, you know, where we see the future of networking and exhibitions, looking at possibilities for this year as well. And so we discussed, you know, the B&C show, Convex, CHS, which is in the discussion, so I won't repeat things there. But that leads me on to the next slide. Here, I think most of you know Kate and Michelle. There is an introduction at the beginning of the video anyway, so without further ado, I shall start playing that. And if you listen really quick, listen hard, I think you can hear Michelle giggling just as I do the introduction.
Okay, hi Michelle, thank you so much for joining my January webinar talking about networking, fam trips and exhibitions. Obviously, you guys are experts running your own networking event, Eventprofslive. So I thought we'd take this opportunity to look at what we're going to be doing in the short term and in the long run, just generally in the industry, as you do have your own networking membership. So tell me about what the Eventprofslive is all about, how it works. Kate, if you want to go first, and then Michelle, if you want to add anything in, let us know what it's all about.
Okay, thanks, Lindsay. Hi, everyone. So Eventprofslive is a networking group for corporate event professionals. Michelle and I set this up about 5 years ago, about 5.5 years ago now, which is crazy. And the idea really was born from the fact that there was lots of networking groups out there, but not anything dedicated just for corporates. So people on the ground running the events, knowing what they're doing inside out. And so we took it from there, and Eventprofslive was born. So the idea is for people to get together virtually or in person, obviously at the moment virtually. And the idea is for people to network, share ideas, exchange stories, and also develop relationships with key stakeholders of their needs and suppliers. Michelle, anything I've missed? I'm sure there's lots.
And I think nail on the head, exactly that. Corporate networking professionals or corporate networking events for corporate event managers. It has nearly been 6 years, and it has grown like so much since that first day at the Mondrian, where we sat around in the rumpus room and had a cheeky champagne and dreamt up the idea, and literally gone from strength to strength. We've got some amazing event managers, part of our membership, from every walk of life, really, all corporate, but banking, finance, law, legal. Obviously, Kate and I, our bread and butter, well, mine was legal, Kate's still in law. But people who know their stuff, and people, if they don't know their stuff, they rely on the network to support them as well. And I think for us, we see the biggest value, obviously, in our networking events, but people draw a lot of, get a lot from our WhatsApp group. So that WhatsApp group will go 24/7. People will ask anything and everything from what caterer do you use to, you know, I'm looking for a new role, or how do I approach this situation? So it's like a mentoring network, friendship, sisterhood. We did have a couple of guys, we've lost them. We didn't lose them on purpose. But it's like this all-rounded, fully functioning group that serves so many purposes outside of just networking. And we're really, really proud of it and know it's going to get even better as the years progress. So, yeah.
So talking about the members themselves, how many do you have? And because I remember that first day when you got together, there was like 6 or something, was there? And you've come so far, and I appreciate there's now the paid membership. So, you know, tell us about how many members you've got and what's involved. Michelle, do you want to go first? I'm sorry.
I don't want to talk over anyone. I think, and I could be wrong, but I'm going to say we've got about 80 to 85 members at the moment, paid membership. We were free for quite some time, but obviously it takes us a lot of our time. Sometimes it's like a full-time job, if I'm completely honest, on top of what we already do in our busy roles. So yeah, about 80 to 85 members. And as I said before, they're all from legal or finance or insurance backgrounds. We've got some rental car companies, like really diverse mix, but all corporate led. And the majority of our members, I would say, have been with us for the duration. So every year we get 5 to 10 new ones, but most people have stayed with us since day dot, which has been really good to see. And obviously means that we're probably, or hopefully, doing something right to be able to retain them.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's testament to the activities that you have been doing. So tell us about, Kate, you go first this time. Tell us about like the fam trips that you've done in the past. And then I know that you've gone from obviously all the face-to-face stuff to virtual over the last year, as everybody's had to. So tell us a bit about the fams and perhaps where you see that might change for this year, or I know you had a plan in January at one point to try and do, you know, the next fam trip when we thought things were going to be easing up a bit. So it must be really hard for you guys to try and plan anything. So tell us what we did before and where do you see the fam trips going, or the online virtual events going in the future?
Sure. So, I mean, what we love doing is fams. It's literally our bread and butter, and it's something that we look forward to personally as well. It's always a highlight in my diary every month. And we've been everywhere from like Penny Hill Park to Clifton to Chewton Glen up to Manchester for sort of the 48-hour whistle-stop tour of seeing what's up there. And it just is really incredible. And like what Michelle said, it really bonds everybody together. So I think not only bonds you with those people, like the stakeholders at the venue and supplier, which makes it a lot easier when you're negotiating with them or trying to sort of get across what you need for your event, but also with your like peers. And I think it builds trust so that you can ask your competitor something and they're not going to be worried that you're going to go and spill the beans to everybody or steal their idea. It really is sort of a family experience. And then for the last sort of 9 months or so, we've moved them online, a mixture of sort of checking in with each other, really. We've just got, again, a diverse range of members. Some people are living on their own, some people are in flat shares, some people got family. So it's just really nice to just check in once a month and just really have sort of, and sometimes a therapy session of how everyone's doing, and just we've had tears, we've had laughter, but it's been really nice. And then we've tried to incorporate some of the more traditional elements of the fams where possible. So people have had online gin tasting experiences, wine and cheese tasting, and who doesn't love getting a parcel delivered to your door that you've not necessarily realised is coming or sort of forgot about, and enjoy an evening all together, albeit over Zoom, enjoying nice food and drinks. And I think that's been brilliant because as event managers, we've had to learn what that experience is like for our clients that we're putting on. And you just don't get that experience unless you physically do it, and you can really sell it to your stakeholders internally. So for me, that has been a massive learning curve of how to do that. And without Eventprofslive, I wouldn't have had that experience.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we've been doing. Where we're going really depends down to Boris and how many vaccines get into people's arms. But I mean, both Michelle and I, we're super keen to get back out there as soon as possible, but when it's safe. So whether that's a mixture of hybrid events, so it'd be myself and a selection of a few members, and then people can join sort of virtually. So it's all really wait and see. We've got a few ideas, and as soon as that we can do it, we'll definitely be flying the flag for live events, because we're gagging to get out there. And I suppose if you don't do it, how can you expect anyone else to be going to your events? So you've kind of got to demonstrate that you're confident in delivering that, and that is by attending stuff.
Yeah.
Michelle, anything to add to that as well?
Oh, I think Kate covered it, but yeah, 100%. We're trying to get back to normal. We're trying to, where we can, keep our venue and supplier friends top of mind. So rolling out or repurposing blogs, perhaps, that we've written over the last 5 years, tweeting about past events every single day or every single month or every single week even. We're trying to do that because I think at this stage, keeping people, like I said, top of mind is most important, so that when we do return to in-person, we want people to go back to the places that we've reminded them of, or that we've held fam trips within the past. We've been speaking to suppliers as much as we can to see what we can roll out this year, and like we just talked about, we had something very much in situ for January, and then at the 11th hour we had to kind of pull it out, replace it. So it's hybrid when we can. We'll continue with the virtual chats. We were doing them every Wednesday. We moved to every month. I think we'll probably keep them every month because people do get a lot of value from it. And sometimes, it's just Kate and I and one other member, Lindsay. Sometimes it's just us three just having a chat. But it's helpful in our roles every day. And even if we can just share one piece of insight within even just us three, like, it's super powerful, it's super informative, and it's super helpful. So we'll keep doing that. Hybrid when we can, definitely. How that will look, like Kate said, we will need to be the guinea pigs. Obviously, I'm okay with that. Shoot and Glenn, FYI, if you're listening, we'll be happy to come back. But yeah, set the example for other event professionals to show that it is safe. We are using venues that are safe. It's easy to facilitate and roll out events this way, making them COVID secure. We put, writing the blogs about our experiences so other event managers can learn from what we've experienced. And yeah, it's a partnership and a friendship with the members and with the suppliers, and we want to make sure that we're doing what we can to be able to support what we've been given in the past as well. And yes, it's work going to stay in a hotel, but it's not a bad job, is it? So yeah, we're constantly thinking about how we can pay it back to all the great things that we've been able to experience in the past 5 years as well.
Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head, I think, as well, with saying about how you were doing them weekly, the virtual events, the webinars, Zoom calls once a week, because there was so much changing in such a short period of time at the beginning, and everybody needed that, just like you say, that collaboration of, well, what's your company doing? What's your company doing? Just as a guide for everybody, and nothing that was obviously too, what's the word? Nothing that you couldn't talk about, nothing that's too confidential, that's the word. But just from every, because you've got such a vast array of members there. So I think there was a lot of, oh, good, that good, that's what I'm thinking, and that's what we're doing. So everyone was just trying to make sure that they were covering all angles, and especially on the safety point of view as well, things that you need to ask venues or be asking your delegates and all that kind of thing. And so that's what I think has been really good, that as everyone's been learning at the same time, everyone's been teaching each other at the same time, as we've all been going at different paces as well. So that's great to hear, and that things are still going to happen in the future as well. And like you say, just keeping in touch with people, and obviously that's what my webinars are about as well, just keeping in touch with people, just so people are still here, because we can't see them anymore. We normally see them at networking events or exhibitions, which leads me on to talking about exhibitions, actually, because who knows what's going to happen with them this year. So I've looked up a couple of the popular exhibitions. So I know that the BNC wanted to do something, for example, in the springtime on a forum type of event. In April, the CHS show, which they were going to do in Birmingham, they are going to do it in Birmingham on the 20th of April. So I'll keep my eye out and see if that's still going to happen. That might be a bit too early now. Who knows? Confex has got the date of 12th and 13th of May, and the meeting show has got the 22nd to 23rd of June this year. So I put them in date order. Meeting show did it virtually at the end of last year, as you probably know, in October, and I did find an interesting stat. So their virtual event in October went ahead with 83% of buyers said that they were likely or extremely likely to recommend the event to industry colleagues, and we know that that was completely virtual. So I think the good thing is there's a way that we can still do this, even though we don't necessarily want to all be virtual all the time. We all get a bit like, oh, not another webinar, not mine, of course, or yours. But
never ours or yours.
Never yours. And so it's keeping an eye on, what is the industry doing? Where are they going? Is that too soon for me or for my company? And you guys have got company compliance as well of will people be allowed to go and things. So, when do you see that you might want to go to an exhibition, or it might be different when you want to go and when your company allows you to go? Might be two different things. So it'd be really great to get your thoughts. Michelle, if you go first this time on, any of those, or any that you might think, I know of another one or something, or one that you're particularly looking forward to. So tell me what your favourite one is as well.
Yeah, so far for me this year, I haven't kept abreast of what's going on in terms of conferences, because it's not that it hasn't been my focus. Well, yeah, it hasn't been my focus. I think because it's been so tough, like trying to navigate this new normal, especially as a manager. I manage a team of 7 people. Like it's busy. Like I'm not just steering myself through it, I'm steering 7 other people through it as well. So all of my time, I feel like I can't particularly take a chunk of time off to attend the industry conferences that I usually would. And I also think, like, from a compliance and a legal standpoint, in terms of attending, Kate and I can probably, I'm not advocating us getting around this, but we can get around it in terms of the company side because we're representing Eventprofslive. But I do think people will struggle taking the time away from their workplace or exposing themselves to hundreds of thousands, sometimes of different people, putting themselves in unsafe situations to attend a conference that people probably think you could just do it online and you can do it virtually anyway. I went to an industry event for Visit Monaco. That was amazing. I never thought I would love attending a virtual conference, but it was so good because it was set up like a speed dating kind of thing. How you usually do it, and they ring the bell in 10 minutes and you move to the next table. But the software they had used had all the tables in place, and they had a timer, and I would sit there and I would talk to like Raising Stones or Lafayette or whatever, ring the bell, move on to the next table. And if I had a session break, I'd kind of move down to the tech room, or I'd move into another room where I had a coffee with someone. And it was fantastic. And I never thought I'd really appreciate attending that type of conference or that type of event until I did it. This year, I don't think any of the in-person ones will go ahead. That's just me. I don't think the virtual or the hybrid models will be as successful as people think they will be. I think we're all zoomed out. I think we are getting our information and our updates from other sources, whether it's like we talked about the networking group or Lindsay by participating in your webinars. I don't think, me personally, it's not a key focus of mine to attend them. I'm speaking at a couple because I think it's the right thing to do. I think I've got experience on what they want me to speak on, but yeah, I don't think, from my perspective, I won't be attending a lot of conference events this year.
And just before we go on to Kate, so which ones are you speaking at, Michelle? If you remember.
Just the CNIT sessions, yeah.
Brilliant. And Kate, what are your thoughts?
It's really a hard one, isn't it? Because you want to support the industry, you want to get there and sort of fly the flag, but at the same time, it's being sensible and it's going to a conference sort of exhibition space where there's a large amount of people around, actually the right thing to be doing personally and professionally, particularly at the moment when the likelihood is I'm not going to be booking venues for a while, sadly, and it really does break my heart to say that, but I can't see me booking anything in the next 6 months or 7 months sort of thing. Maybe the last quarter it might change, but then who knows? So it's a really sort of unclear situation at the moment. I think the meeting show might have a bit more hope in June, but I do think it needs to reduce its numbers completely, and it definitely won't look like what the meeting show was when I went in 2019, which seems crazy because that only seems like yesterday. So I do think they do need to relook at it and what they're trying to get out of it, and really the return on investment is going to be looked closely by venues and suppliers that are going to be their exhibition. And I mean, they want business, but they need good business. They don't want people sort of wasting their time and taking appointments. I think it'd be interesting. I think hybrid's really hard for those types of spaces. I think it is more down to the personal relationships that you've got with venues and buyers, and really going down that route rather than personally doing sort of the speed networking. But what Michelle done sounds great. So yeah, I think it's a hard one without saying yes or no, really. I'm a bit on the fence about it, but I definitely nothing in sort of the first 5 months of this year. I can't see myself doing anything. And like Michelle, speaking on a few events at DNIT, but again, that will be virtually, so I'm happy to do that.
And I think that's the thing that's what's so good about having these discussions now, because even now you sort of look at it on paper and you're like, we've just had this national lockdown literally 48 hours ago that's going to be until, well, minimum February, March, April, once the vaccinations are done, and we know it's just going to keep on going until we've got more concrete evidence on how safe it is. So it makes it hard to plan. I think it makes it hard for these organisers to put these exhibitions in place unless it is virtual. And I think it's similar to echo that, Michelle, the way that one was organised was brilliant, because you've got this speed networking, and so that's where you build your new contacts. So I think this is the hardest thing for anybody now, any of the supplier side, is how do they get their new contacts, because that's exactly what exhibitions were for. You'd get a percentage of where you'd net with people, where you'd network with the same people, and it was a great way to see all the people that you know in one day. Oh, bless you. And then on the other hand, it was a great way to get new contacts that you also follow up with afterwards and do the site visits, or now it's going to be a lot more virtual, Zoom calls and things, which is a great way for sales managers at the moment to be able to keep everybody updated. But on the other hand, when the planning's not there to do the face-to-face events, you're actually, are we now going to have exhibitions where you've got more people selling their virtual event platforms, for example, or like you were saying earlier, with the things that you did with the gin tasting and things like that, will it be more suppliers like that? So I think we're obviously going to see a lot of change with the exhibitions and the suppliers there, and virtually, like you say, is definitely going to be the best way forward for the first half of the year. And also with so many people working from home, which is going to be here for a long time now, people travelling to those exhibitions. So if they're not due in to be in the office that day for whatever reason, do they then make that effort to go to wherever the exhibition is? And I've already mentioned sort of Birmingham and London, and they're all over the UK, obviously. So are people going to be able to go to those exhibitions? Because sometimes people would be able to pop in their lunch hour, whereas if they've then got to put expenses through and all that, it's opening up a lot of things that we never had to think about or thought about before. So it's really good to have these discussions now, and who knows in sort of 3 months, 6 months where those discussions will end up being. So I really appreciate that you've sort of shared from your own point of view and the networking point of view where things are. So just sort of to wrap things up as well, personally, I just wanted to ask you, with your goals and planning for this year, either personally more really, because it's really hard for people now to get as excited as you normally would for the new year. And I know we did mood boards at one of your events last year, and I'd never done mood boards before, and I absolutely loved it. I didn't always see the big thing about it, but it was brilliant. I've still got mine. I'm going to update it obviously for this year. So what kind of things have you done personally? Like, have you bought, gone out and got a new planner like you normally would, a new diary? There's a lot of people thinking, well, what's the point? And so I'd love to hear what you guys have both done individually. Michelle, if you go first, what have you done, like any New Year's resolutions, and what sort of plans have you put in place to help you this year?
So this is the first year in 6, and I looked at, they're all sitting on my bookshelf, that I've got my goals journals. I'm not getting one this year because I just not, like, I've always set goals. I've always worked to New Year's resolutions, and I have got them up here, but I'm not going to be as formalized and write them down. I don't need to, so I'm not going to. So that's one thing that I've changed. I've also changed my approach to, I was always like 5 a.m. club, 6 a.m. club, got to get up at 5 o'clock. Not important to me anymore. What's important to me is my little doggy and my husband, and that's what this situation has changed for me. So I've had a bit of a mind shift on that as well. I'm doing lots of courses. So I'm doing like a life coaching course, because I've been working with a couple of clients like one-to-one. I'm like, well, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it properly. If people are trusting me to give them advice, I want to know what I'm talking about. So I'm doing a life coaching course. I'm doing my CVent certifications. So I'm focusing on like building myself up, like getting more qualifications and kind of steering my career in a particular direction. Health, wellness, sorting the house out. We've just set, and I've just been working on it today for my team, thinking about their careers, so like where they are now, where they want to go, and like restructuring their whole role to be able to guide them in a different path if that's what they want to do, or getting them incorporated in more things to make this situation that we're in. We've had live events taken away. We're all virtual. It's going to get really boring and monotonous. And I can't believe I said that word without stuttering for such a long time. Like, what can I do to re-energize and refocus them? So my whole year has shifted, like, completely different to what I've been involved in other years. And I'm happy with it. So that's my goals. Oh, and fast forward. I'm doing the fast forward mentorship program, which I'm really excited about as well. Yeah, I was quite proud to go on that, so I can't wait to start.
So yeah, congratulations on that as well. That is,
Yeah.
I know that you'd be brilliant at that as well. Sounds like a whole fresh approach this year, actually, which I think a lot of people have obviously got, and very much focused on self-learning so that you can help other people as well. I mean, that's very admirable as well, and keep me updated with that, of course, which I know you will. So
you need some life coaching on anything.
Not musical.
Life coaching.
It's so interesting. It's like it takes you through all, like, why you are the way you are, like what are your limiting beliefs, like why certain people just make, I know I'm transgressing and I'll come back to it, but some people like have excuses all the time, and you're like, this really teaches you about where those excuses come from. So anyway, it's good.
Mindset. Maybe a webinar on that, Michelle. That sounds really interesting.
You have to blame the parents half the time. It's from your childhood.
Yeah.
That mindset, isn't it, a lot of the time? And Kate, what about you?
So for me, I do have a new planner, and it actually just arrived about an hour ago, which was very exciting delivery today. So it's from Inspiring Stories, and I've not actually used theirs before, but just from flicking through it, it looks really good actually compared to some of the other ones that I've used before. So for me, so last year I learned, which I'm sure a lot of people did, but for me it was just about balance. I realised I'd been going at like 380 miles per hour for years. Never indoors. Like, I literally bought my flat 4 years ago, and I've seen it more this year than I did in the previous years, because I used to just like rock in, get in the shower, go to bed, rock out, go to work and everything. So for me, it's all about balance. I definitely don't want to be going back to that lifestyle again. I say that, and I'll probably be out and about everywhere. And just bringing more joy this year. Last year there was joyful moments, I'm not going to lie. Like, I did have fun and there was good moments of it. I know it was a bad year, but there was still lots of highs. So for me, some of my goals, most of them actually are more like personal goals. I want a new kitchen, I want a new bathroom, that kind of stuff. Sitting in your house every day, it's all the things that need doing. So things like that. And then work, I think one thing that I need to tick off this year and want to tick off is a hybrid event, because I feel like it will be progress as well in terms of things starting to come back. So I definitely want to do that. But yeah, really that's about it at the moment. I'm kind of just taking it as it comes, and I don't want to be putting pressure on myself that I need to be doing this every day and cooking for a Michelin style dinner and then getting 20 courses and learning Spanish by the end of lockdown. It's just too much for me. But yeah, so yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Yes.
I think that sounds brilliant, and I think the thing there is about being gentle on yourself and just being forgiving on yourself, to not put too much pressure on just because people are at home. It's like there's so much to cope with, and the emotional drain on what's going on shouldn't be underestimated, I don't think. I mean, we all know we have good days, bad weeks, bad weeks and everything, and like you say, it's finding the joy in the things that we do. And I've started following on from December's webinar. We're talking about having a grateful diary, which I've never done before, a gratitude diary. So I have started that, and I'm like, that's one line a day. That's all you have to do, just one line a day, So I'm not doing sort of journaling or anything like that, but it's like the gratitude. It's just that little pick you up every day. And then I think when I will be looking back is how far we've come, and actually how we were just taking joy in the smallest things in some days. And like you said, Michelle, with your dog and everything, it's just making the most of the things that you've got at home home on your actual doorstep, which we've never been forced to think about before, or we've kind of thought, oh, I'd like to do more of that, but we've not been able to for so many reasons. And the majority of people, that's because they've had a commute to do, or you're getting up at a certain time for X, Y, and Z. So it'll be good to see on social media when you're sharing all the stuff that you're doing as well, because it does inspire. You girls do really inspire so many other people as well. So with that, I just want to say a really big thank you for this as well. We've had a lovely chat talking about what, the industry and personally what we're going to be doing this year. And I know that we'll keep in touch with all our different activities of what we're all going to be doing. So how do people want to join Eventprofslive? How do they contact you? Kate, do you want to go first? How would someone contact you for membership, to join the membership?
Sure. So as you touched on, we're all over social media. So at Eventprofslive on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook and LinkedIn. www.eventprofslive.com for the website. And on there is the link to our email address across everything. So yeah, get in touch. We'd love to hear from you all.
Yes, definitely.
Thanks, girls. So what I'll do, I'll put that anyway on the next slide, which I'll go on to after this video is finished. So for now, thank you so much. Happy New Year and good luck for the rest of the year. And I very much look forward to keeping in touch with you girls. Take care.
Same way.
Bye.
Bye.
So thanks so much again, Michelle and Kate, for that. The loads of things that we were able to go through, which I massively appreciate, and I will send their details on with the follow-up that I do to those that register for this as well. I'm aware of time as well now, because we obviously had so much to go through, so I'll just wrap up these last couple of slides, because I think we got a lot of motivation actually from Kate and Michelle. Well, I did anyway, from Kate and Michelle there, and it is just keeping in touch with all the different people that do motivate us in whatever way, and unsubscribing to things that are just clogging up our email box as we have a fresh approach. I would recommend with that checking out last month's webinar. If you haven't, it's on YouTube. Just go to Park Lane Events on YouTube and you'll find it there. Really good. Again, a sort of 20-minute also chat with Louise and Chris about finding your why are you doing this, your bright spots, what are your happy things each day, shaping the path for the year ahead, little energy energizer, and giving yourself time and space for yourself, and being gentle on yourself. So just to finish off, sort of going forward, grateful diary, I think I do recommend, having done 6 days of it so far, avoiding burnout as well as practicing resilience, practicing mindfulness, taking yourself out of the situation, whether it's a 30-second meditation, or as we all know, we can go out and do some sort of exercise, go out for a walk, or do your whole HIIT workout if you can. Joe Wicks is starting again on Monday, Wednesday and Friday, live at 9 AM for 20 minutes as well, so I should be making my 10-year-old and myself do that. And trying to control the negative thoughts when they come in, acknowledging them, and then moving forward as best we can. And I totally appreciate you can have a small negative thought of, oh, my hair's not great today, to the whole Boris lockdown announcement and the negative thoughts that we had, which take longer to perhaps move forward from there. So it's definitely about acknowledging those, and compassion, of course, being kind and gentle with yourself as well as others, communication and community, and this is where there's such a wide range of where everybody's at. There's people that are able to offer support, and sending those WhatsApp out, how you doing, and doing things for free or whatever. And then there's others that we can be very proud to ask for help, and we're all very good at saying everything's fine and everything, and so actually reaching out, whether it's family, friends, or somebody in the industry, to go, look, how's it going, or can I could do with a bit of help. So I think with that, this is what I found this actually, which I thought was fantastic with this whole year that we've gone through, and looking ahead for this year. Are you thriving, surviving, struggling, or in crisis? And I think we can pick some of these and merge some of these together as well. So feel free to take a snapshot of this as I quickly gloss over this. I did just find it really interesting, and to help identify where we're all at different times. And with that, I've put some tips about resilience as well, which is similar to some of the things that I've just mentioned. So again, feel free to take a picture of that. It will be on YouTube if that's something that interests you as well. So then just finally, moving on, she says, I just wanted to say thank you. I appreciate we've run over 5 minutes there, but thank you for coming today. I wasn't even sure whether to delay this one because it is the first week back, but so many people did register, which is brilliant. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It is amazing for me to keep in contact with what people are doing. People do message me in between these as well, and that's what helps me put all of this together, and the catch-ups that I have in that, which just keeps us all united. And I think with what we're all going through in the events industry, when we were talking about life coaches earlier as well, actually, Claire's mentioned she's seeing one at the moment, and it's the best thing she's done for ages. So Michelle, maybe once you are, I'm guessing you're getting qualification, then, you know, again, do share all of that. I think we all love recommendations of all of this kind of thing at the moment, because it does help us keep focus, keep those negative thoughts aside. If we all do one thing kind, it makes us feel good, as well as the fact that it's helping somebody else as well. So it is that knock-on effect, isn't it? So do send me any questions afterward. You know, if you've got anything afterwards, like Jane did. Thank you again, Jane, for the next webinar, which will be Thursday, the 4th of February. Of course, if you have any relevant inquiries, I have virtual platform now that I can recommend. I'm working on my website over the next month, so more details will appear on there, but I do have a lot of contacts that can help, even if I obviously don't do it myself. So for those out there that do need that, then there are my details. So I will send a follow-up, as I mentioned. For those that do register, they get this followed up and details of the next one with it, you know, either this afternoon or tomorrow. It depends how my 10-year-old is getting on with her homeschooling, actually. If you have taken pictures, please do share it on social media. I really appreciate it. And as I mentioned, and I've said on there, the next one's the 4th of February. So I shall stop sharing, actually. There we go, sorry. Thank you again so much, and keep in touch. I think that's the only thing that we all have control of, at least. And I'll end the webinar for now. I'll follow up with you all, and Happy New Year. Thank you so much. Bye.